There we go. I am not sure how to share my screen here on live stream. What is this? I really wanted to go over Leviticus with everyone. Background, oh, background, no. Video backgrounds. Sorry, I'm trying to learn this. I found a solution. I'm getting raptured. All right, I don't know. Let me see if I can go on here and see myself live. And if I can, then I'll know if I'm sharing the screen or not. Live. No, I can't see it yet. But there's 50 people watching, so I'm guessing I'm live. Why are we still here? I want to go over Leviticus with everybody, but I can't tell if anybody can see my screen. Can you see my screen? I put up a different screen. No, you're still looking at me. I don't know how to share screen on StreamYard. Present. Let's see what present means. Video file. Share screen. I found it. Both of these. Let's see here and this one. Share. All right. Can you guys see that screen? Oh yeah, that's what we're looking at. Okay, good, good, good. How do I enlarge this so I can, here, let's see this. Oops, now I did that and I can't see your comments. I'm so technologically behind the curve here. Let's see if I can see this. Sorry, we're starting off a little slow, but I don't see this coming up on my phone, and I need to see your comments, which I can't. So, is there a way? Stop sharing. There's no way I can see myself. I just can't see any comments. Hide. Oh, there's hide chat. Oh, there we go. Full screen mode. New parent corner of your screen. Am I in full screen mode? What is this? How about that? Nope, that doesn't do it. Sorry about this. I'm trying to figure it out. What's this? Full screen layout. Okay. Show chat. Show chat. Still not showing the chat. That's awesome. All right. This is going to take me a second to figure out. Hold on a second. Exit full screen. Ah, there we go. I guess is that too small to see at this point? My age is showing. Yeah, definitely. At least I can see the. Let me see here. How do I enlarge this a little bit? Exit full screen layout. No. If I hit this thing, then it gets larger for me, but I don't know if it gets larger for you. All right. You can read it right now, Sister Sandy? That's good. Okay. All right. I guess let's get started. I have been in contact quite a bit with Sister Sandy over this Leviticus 25, trying to figure it out. And I think I finally understand it well enough to articulate it to everyone else in a fashion to where it's easy to understand. I don't believe the Bible was written in a fashion to where the average person can't understand it. I didn't start my channel. Yes, I'm sitting down. It's the first time I've ever made a video sitting down except in my car. I've never wanted to be a channel that when people had questions that they didn't get answers, and questions are always acceptable aside from the silly ones, but the actual questions of these of this magnitude, this type of stuff is important that we work together to understand. I don't want to be a channel to where because I have an understanding and you don't, that makes me better than you somehow, or just because you don't understand and I do, that you're less saved than I am, which is ridiculous. I don't want to be a channel that has written 90 books on a subject, and if you want to find out what I have to say, then you have to go read my books. I don't have any books. It's just me. I'm a simple guy that is just, I love the Word of God, and I have always wanted to know when the head of the year was. I said, God, if you just show me the head of the year, from there, I'll build a timeline. And again, I've been building timelines for over 30 years, and I've had to throw them all away. This is the only timeline where I've come up with that no one has been able to legitimately refute, that they could say no, this is this, and there's no way you're accurate about the head of the year. There's just no way. And so as I began researching, I came to stuff like this. I'm not the first one to find this. As a matter of fact, others had found it. I just have never seen anyone build a timeline around it. There's some of the biggest channels, most popular channels go, no, it's the moon, but will not build a timeline. They will not do it because they know you can't go from the flood to the cross in 150 days. They know it won't happen. They will not build that timeline. They'll tell you silly things like, when it's a full moon, it's the 15th. When there's no moon, it's the first. It's silly and it doesn't function. Even if you did it that way, you'd never arrive at the cross on the 14th of the month. It simply couldn't happen. So the problem that you guys can see that clearly, it's very tiny for me. So I'm going to show my age. Again, this is other people's research. It already existed 7 years ago when I began trying to research this. And when I saw this, I did not know what the equilux was. I didn't know that it was a day that it has 12 hours in the day and 12 hours at night. I did not know that it never changes. It never has. It has always been 12 hours a day and 12 hours at night on the in the sky. It's always been that day, always. So as I go and I realize, okay, maybe they're onto something. How do I get to the next screen? Is it here? Well, this is ridiculous. I don't know how to get to the next screen. Yeah, I got my magnifying glasses. But again, this is other people's research. This has been around for quite some time, and people have been screaming it for a while that no, it doesn't start on the sliver moon. No, it doesn't start on the equinox, the day of equal night. It starts on the equilux. We are children of the day and not children of the night. So we will start our year on March 17th. The day of equal parts is March 16th. And when I lay it out on the timeline and I go into the Bible and I research out every single date I can find and I plug it in, it fits. Now, recently, I realized that people cannot figure out the 6,000 year timeline. And I went in and created a linear timeline. In other words, it's a 6,000 year timeline, and I put as many dates as I could find in the Bible on there. But when you go from a linear timeline, meaning from left to right, and all of the dates you can find, the next step, the next graduating step will always be a graph. And that's something I could not do. And so Sister Sandy has done that. And it's actually quite incredible, absolutely incredible what she has put together. And you can see hers and I'll ask her, she's on here, I'll ask her to put her website up there. And she's built that graph if you want to go look at it. Now, I don't know how to get to the next screen. So let me try this. I don't know how do you get to the next screen? Exit full screen. Okay. Is it in here? Remove from stage, exit full screen layout. I I don't know how to get to the next. Oh, this is what's showing. That's remove. I don't know how to get to the next screen on this program. StreamYard is not as easy to operate as the other one that I use. So let's see here. It won't do that. Will it? I don't know what remove means. Oh, I just removed it. Let's see here. I don't know how to go to the next. Maybe this is it. Oh, hold on a second. I think I know what it is. Let me go here. There. Does that do it? Does that change it? Oh, it does. Add to stage. Can you guys see that? It looks so tiny to me. Are you guys able to see that at all? Let me do this. I think I know what I'm doing now, somewhat. It's a bit blurry because I've photocopied or screenshotted it so many times that it is a bit blurry. But again, this is stuff. Oh, I can't enlarge it from here. Good Lord, how do you do this? That's from that screen. Maybe I can do this. No, it won't even let me do that. So the Bible says that, let me do this. Let me exit. Let me stop screens. I don't, I'm afraid to do that. I might end up not doing anything here. Let me go here. Now let me enlarge it. Okay. The thing is, I don't think I'll be able to move it over here. So I'll just have to keep coming back to move it. Is it the same size for you guys, or am I actually enlarging it for you, or is this just for me to be able to see? Uh, okay. I'll wait for the answer here in a second. Nope, it's not even letting me move it. All right. So the Bible clearly says there must be two witnesses to this event. And the two witnesses are talking about two guys standing out on a hill in Israel with binoculars. The two witnesses are the sun and the stars. It's not the moon. The moon is for signs, in my opinion. And this event takes place every single year on both March 16th and again in September, where this star skirts right along the horizon in Israel. And this is how you know, and this does it on the 16th at night. On the 16th during the day is when you'll notice that there are 12 hours in a day and 12 hours at night. Just 12 hours later, actually a few hours later at 5:45, you'll see this fourth star skirting along the horizon. That's the two witnesses. All right. Let's see here. I don't want to stop screen. Exit full screen. Okay. All right. Let me go here. This is a pain. I wish the program was like Zoom. All right. So let me keep going here. You guys, you're able to see this as I switch screens. I can screenshot and show you in Discord if you want. There you go. All right. I'm going to go up a little bit and see if I can see you enlarge it. Okay, it's bigger now. Okay, it's full screen. It's tiny. I can't. Okay. I just want to make sure what I'm seeing is exactly what you're seeing. All right, thank you. Now, so each time I do this, I am going to have to go in and uh, over to the original picture and enlarge it. Now, where did they get the moon from? The concept of the moon, where did it come from? It originated back in um, 400 BC. That's where it originated from. They did not view the moon to start anything prior to 400 BC. But King Alexander the Great conquered the Middle East in the 4th century BC. The lunar calendar was introduced. And the lunar calendar was introduced and gradually accepted by most of the people, except for the Hebrew people. In 172 BC, now we've gone on, what is that, 350, 250 years, King Antiochus, Antichrist, King Antiochus, appointed Menelaus as Jerusalem high priest to introduce the Greek way of educating the young people. So what do they do in order to make something stick? They don't go after the adults and go to war with them and kill them all. It doesn't work. That just galvanizes the people. What they do is they begin teaching the children in school. They have taught, I was raised believing that oil came from dead dinosaurs. That's not true. The planet makes the stuff. The planet literally makes oil. And all the oil wells that they emptied out in Texas are currently full again. Why? Because as trees die, the oils from it, and we know it's true. You get olive oil, you get oil from anything that is plant based. It's all plant based. None of it was ever dinosaur based. So what they do is they introduce our children to a new way of thinking. So when the children grow up, they begin questioning their idiotic parents, and they know more. And what better way to completely change a society as to attack the children and tell the children your parents just don't know. School, when they went to school, it was 30 years ago. They just don't know, and that's how they do it. And they still do that today. They still indoctrinate our children the same way today. 172 BC, King Antichrist appointed Menelaus as a Jerusalemite priest to introduce the Greek way of educating the young people and to completely Hellenize the Hebrew people. He also sent a senator from Athens to give the Hebrew people an ultimatum to forsake the laws of their God, Yah, and follow the king's orders, or to be put to death. So most of the Hebrew people followed the king's orders to save their families, and many were put to death. King Antiochus, Antichrist, forced the Hebrew people to celebrate the birthday of the month every month. This is stuck and it is ingrained in people's minds from back there. And today, to this very day, they will view the moon to start up the year or the month, and it simply is not true. I showed you exactly where that concept came from, and I show you exactly where they indoctrinated it into people's minds to the point now where even the best teachers of the word are still trying to use the moon. And honestly, the moon is actually accurate every 19 years. Every night, you'll recall in 2023 that all of the full feasts fell correctly on my timeline in association with the Hebrew timeline. And that can't happen unless the moon does come back into alignment. Let's see here. What do I got next? Not that blank screen. Oh, I got blank screens now. Oh, there we go. That, that, that. Okay, now, all right. So how do I go full screen again? Here. This is, you'll find this in Enoch 72:20. And on the day is equalized with the night. That does not happen on the equinox. You can go into time and date right now and look at the equinox. There are not 12 hours a day and 12 hours at night. It just doesn't happen. And so 72:20 is where you'll find it on the day that is equalized. And many great teachers, and I have nothing against them. I am not talking bad about them in any kind of way. They grabbed a hold of the equinox and ran with it and began. I don't even know that some of them did build timelines. Some of them are very intelligent doctors, like Dr. Ken Johnson, very intelligent. I love his channel, but he is wrong. He is wrong. The head of the year is on the equinlux, not the equinox. So here we go. Let's keep going. It's truly sad, but there are more people on Earth. So you're correct, and I this is what I've been working on with Sister Sandy is we have this 10-day, and I'm going to get into that here in a minute. We have this 10-day difference that keeps jumping up from the timeline. Once you put all the dates from a timeline down, and then other things are stated or dates we find that, for example, biblically, we're like, I can't quite figure out where this sits, but they'll say, well, this happened on this date, um, or they'll say it happened 40 years after this date. And then we can go in because of that 40-year gap and plug in when it was, add it to the timeline, and then we realize it fits or it doesn't fit. So the same thing happens while you're building your timeline, that events that you weren't quite sure of fall perfectly into place. Like, I did not I don't know that it says it, and I don't think it does. I don't think we know exactly when Moses was born and when Moses died. But when you go into research it on the internet, and it says, well, Moses was born and died on Adar 7. We know the triumphant entry, and we know that he died 30 days before Joshua entered into the promised land. So one would assume that since they entered the promised land on Nisan 10, that Moses died on Adar 10. But there was these 3 days where there was discrepancy with his body and everything else. So we realized that, and according to what they said, Adar 7 is exactly the day. And that is, I believe it was, and I'll get into that here in a second, I believe that's February 22nd. That's the day Moses died. It is not the day of Purim, though. Purim lands exactly 30 days um, prior to the cross. And the cross is not the crossing over event. The crossing over event is the how do you call it? The triumphant entry. Joshua's triumphant entry. Israel's triumphant entry leaving is Egypt. Jesus' triumphant entry on the donkey. You see, God reuses these dates. So he lost time for the job. I don't know what that is. Okay, so we let me keep going forward here. Then we have this now. If Jesus would have said, you know, does not the sun cross the equator on this day? We would know that I was wrong about what Enoch said on the day equalized. But it just so happens, and when I build it into the timeline, it fits like a glove. It absolutely fits like a glove because there are not just one law that's passed down, there are 613 laws. Now, 613 laws, John 3:16, 613 backwards, 3:16. To me, that's not enough, but it does point us to 3:16, March 16th, the day of equal parts. But Jesus says here, are there not 2 hours in the day? Jesus is God. Do you not think he knows what day has 12 hours in the day? It does not happen it does not happen on the equinox. It does happen on the equilux 4 days earlier on March 16th. That's the day it actually happens. Now, if in fact uh, I would be correct about that. I forget how to escape this thing. Oh, hopefully that was up there that whole time. Let me enlarge it real quick. If in fact, there we go. Now, if in fact I was correct about that, when I go over the Leviticus laws, I would find a law that would contradict, but in fact it confirms. Mary and Martha buried their brother Lazarus, and for generations they have said that Mary and Martha also went to Jesus to bring him a message. But that's not how the text reads. Number one, they buried their brother. They were unclean. They were not going to present themselves before Jesus before their third day ceremony that they had to perform. It's Levitical law. They are unclean for 7 days, but they have to perform a ceremony on the third day. So they bury their brother, and then 3 days later they perform a ceremony, and then 4 days later, or 7 days in total, they are clean. And on the eighth day, which happens to be 6 days, which the Bible records all of this, 6 days prior to the cross, he has a meal at Mary, Martha, and Lazarus' house. Now we can see that there is, I don't want to call it a mistake because it ruffles people's feathers, but no, the King James Version is the most incredible Bible ever. It is numerically sound. It is perfect for salvation, which is what we're all here for. We're not here to figure out the date. We are here for salvation. So I will talk about the coins on Jesus' eyes in a moment. And so we are here for salvation, but all this other stuff is us becoming more intimate with our groom, for lack of a better word. We are learning Jesus and we are loving him more as we see the detail that he put into building the Word of God. And it is absolutely layered like an onion, and there's so much information in there. So, Mary and Martha now on the seventh day are clean. They have this meal with Lazarus on the eighth day, but then the King James conflates two stories together and says, and if you know what kind of woman this was, and she was anointing his head, Jesus' head was not anointed at Lazarus' house by Mary. Jesus' head was anointed at the Pharisee's house, Simon's house, the leper. His head was anointed there. And there was a comment made that if you knew what kind of woman she was, well, what kind of woman was Mary, the sister of Lazarus? She wasn't a bad woman. This other Mary was the one anointing his head, but they confused the stories because his feet were being anointed on two separate occasions. This happened, it had to, by law, he had to be anointed 4 days prior to him going to the cross. That means it had to have happened the night. Did I not enlarge this? That means it had to happen the night of the 25th, because that would make it sunset, which would make it the following day, which would make it 4 days prior to the cross. Remember, you were to bring the lamb in. And then what did he do that night? His head is anointed. He goes to sleep. And in the morning, he tells them, go get me that donkey and colt and I will, and he rides into town and they yell Hosanna in the highest and they throw down palm branches and everything else at his feet. This day is the triumphant entry. This day is Nisan 10. This day is March 26th. Mathematically, it works out to March 26th. It's absolutely incredible as we go through these dates, and they fit like a glove. You cannot do that with the moon. It will not happen with the moon. If that my birthday, I don't even know what that was. The screen hiccuped. There we go. If I tell you my birthday is on a day, it doesn't change every year with the movement of the moon. Ever. It doesn't go that way. If no man was created on the sixth day, that's okay. All right. Now, let me keep going forward with the pictures now that I know how to do it. Let's see here. I've already showed you the Mazzaroth. Now, this right here, let's see, let me enlarge this. This right here. Now, Sister Sandy sees a slightly different date, which is fine. My argument has always been very simple that if Jesus was born any later than September 30th of 3 BC, Herod would have been dead. Now, I've seen comments in my last YouTube that they could state that possibly Herod died in 1 BC. And if that's true, it is possible that this would be accurate, that this would be 32 AD. I personally don't believe that. I will never change my mind on the fact that Jesus' ministry was 3.5 years and that he was 30 years old, about 30 years old, like it says in Luke. He was about 30 years old, and he became, and which means he was 5 days before his birthday, and that's when he began his ministry. When he was about 30, we know that again, Levitical law. These laws aren't set up to restrict Jesus. These laws are set up to prove Jesus, and the Levitical law requires that a high priest be at least 30 years old. And I would imagine that even they would have accepted somebody who was about 30 years old. So 5 days prior to his 30th birthday is the feast, is the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement is the day, remember, September 30th is his birthday. The Day of Atonement is September the 24th. His birthday was September the 29th at nightfall, becoming September the 30th. So um, the Revelation 12 sign happened at nightfall on the 24th. It's the same day, the Revelation 12 sign. It's absolutely perfect. All right, let me continue to go here. The reason I'm going through all of this is number one, I might have new viewers or somebody might have happened by this channel as they're scrolling through. And I want to be not convincing because it's going to save somebody. I'm wanting to show you that how close the rapture I believe really is. And are you able to add I'm out as moderator? You should be able to, Sandy. I think you just click on their name. I called I'm out a guy last time. I felt so bad. It's a girl. I'm out as a girl. I don't see I'm out. There she is. Hold on a second. I don't know how to do this. Put user in timeout. Delete comment. I don't know. I don't know how to do it, Sister Sandy. I wish I did. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Let's see here. Show. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Sorry, Sister Sandy. You partnered up with a really bad person when it involves technology. But I did click on her name. You saw what happened. It wanted me to ban her. I know you're a girl. That's what I said. I felt so bad last time. This is a star. I don't know how to do it. I really don't know how to do it. I clicked on her name, but it tells me I'm hiding her thing. So anyway, sorry about that. You should be able to though, Sister Sandy. You're a moderator. I don't know if it's something I would need to do directly in YouTube or not. So, and I don't know if I could find it on here. We'll just hang out and have a good old time. Nothing serious. I built a timeline to stress to everyone how close the rapture is. And while there are other channels that I love very dearly and I love their research and all the hard work they do and the way they arrive at different dates, and don't think I'm not watching on those dates because they could be right, they are doing the same thing I am. We are, for a lack of a better term, spitballing. We're trying to figure this out and working on it as hard as we can because we want you to understand the urgency of what's going on. And the urgency of what's going on right now is very, very important. That this rapture could happen at any moment and is going to happen. I don't know how to get it on my phone. If I could get it on my phone, then I'd be on YouTube. But I don't. Let's see. You no. This is no. Here. Ooh, I found it. Okay, hold on a second. Whoops. Let me turn the volume down because that's not annoying. Comments. No, I shouldn't have comments. Shouldn't I have live? Let's see here. Ah, sorry about this, everybody, but I'm trying to make. I don't know how to do it. It's not even allowing me to do it on my phone. 10 messages. Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. You're a moderator. I'm out. All right. So let's go forward and see where this leads us. It leads us to the timeline. Now, I can't see it. Can you see the timeline right now? I'm going to turn on my phone and look for. Well, actually, I just turned on my phone. Yes, you can see that. You don't need to see me at all. This is awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, you can see the timeline. Let me do it from here then. It's screen sharing. I didn't even know it. Let's see if it enlarged that. Yes. All right. So yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Now that I know you can see my screen when I don't move it over there, let's go back here to the beginning. March 16th. This is the last day of the year. What does March 16th represent? March 16th represents the last day of the year. It represents the day of equal parts. It represents the last day of the Shemitah cycle. And every 50 years, it represents March 17th will represent the first day of the Jubilee. It all hinges on these two dates. Yes, there are 31 days in Elul. There are not 29. There is no calendar that can exist that is 360 days. I'm fully aware that people believe that it was 360 days. I don't know how they get that. I've seen the comment in extra biblical books, in the book of Jubilees, in the book of Enoch, the Legend of the Jews. I've read them all. They all say that there are 360 days in a year. However, um, they say 360 days, but however, everybody misses the four gates. Everyone misses the four gates. The four gates represent 4 more days. There has always been, and this calendar, people like calling it a solar calendar. Enoch calendar is not a solar calendar. The Gregorian calendar is a solar calendar. The Hebrew calendar is a lunar calendar, but the Enoch calendar is a stellar calendar. The Earth spinning to a fulcrum point in a distant star on the other side of the sun, and as it goes around the sun, that fulcrum point points back at that star exactly to the very second 364 times a year. But in order to keep solar noon, which is not Gregorian's fault or the Gregorian calendar's fault, we have to turn the Earth another 4 minutes each day, which I had Sister Sandy put that in the timeline. And now in doing that, I understand it. So we are quickly arriving. I think we have 36 more days until we arrive at March 16th. Where we are right now is back here. What's the date now? It is February the 7th. Today is February the 7th. It is Shavat 24. This is where I had combined 2 days because I didn't know where to do it. I'd never had thought about the 4 minutes a day until one day it came to me and I asked Sister Sandy to put it on there. So she did. It's not actually 4 minutes a day. It's actually 3 minutes and 57 seconds, which is why at the end of the year we have this extra 16 minutes. But 364 days in a year. So here we are right here on Shavat 11. Yes, it is Shavat 11. I know they got us back here on, I'm sorry, Shavat 24. I said Shavat 11. Shavat 24, February 7th. They still have us back here on other calendars on Shavat 11. Some of them have us back here. They're calling it 11/24. They're calling it for up here somewhere in March, I think, March 7th. They are not accurate. They're not going to be accurate because they're following the moon cycles. It will never be accurate. I would challenge anyone who follows the moon again to just put it on a timeline and show it to me. Somebody asked me if I could take the moon's cycles and add it to this. I can't because that would mean I'd have to build 19 timelines because every 19 years it lines up. I would have to build 19 different timelines to show you where the moon phase was on any given year. When we can just Google the moon phase on any given day I have on here, and you'll see that it will never line up. It just won't do it. So let me go here. Okay. Yeah, you're still seeing what I'm seeing. That's awesome. Yeah. All right, next picture. Now, okay, so here we are right now, Shavat 24, February the 7th. And the next event we're going to see as we go forward is Adar 7. Adar 7 will pick up, what is that, February the 4th, on Valentine's Day. It looks like Valentine's Day will be Adar 1. Is that right? 7 days? Yeah, that'll be Adar 1. I should have put that on here. Maybe I'd eliminate this now and put Adar 1 uh, as February the 14th, or maybe even Shavat 30 as February the 14th. I don't know. I'd have to do the math on that. But at any rate, we're coming up on this now. Again, dealing with that day out that I used to deal with. This is actually February 22nd, Adar 7. And this is the day that Moses dies at 120. This is also the day he was born. It's 3.5 years between the birth of Moses and Aaron. I put all of them on here, but Moses, Aaron, and their sister on here so that we could see. Aaron dies right here, and Miriam. They're all three. And I did not find this. Actually, what's his name? Patrick over at End Time Studies discovered this. He did a whole video on this thing, and I was absolutely impressed with what he did. And he discovered that, and I think I had the dates in here, but I didn't even realize the ages of everyone. Aaron was 123 years old. And they died at 3.5 years. God's been pointing to 3.5 for so long. 84 hours is 3.5 days. His ministry was 3.5 years. He lived 33.5 years. God's pushing this point, and we can't be changing it to try to facilitate what we consider to be 6,000 years. All right. Maybe I should turn on my phone so I can see comments. There we go. Absolutely. I see that a lot. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. Hey, David the Watchman. David the Watchman's here. I don't know. Here, let me get my my magnet here so that I can hang my phone up right here so that I can see your comments going while I'm talking. All right, David's here. Love David's videos. He does an amazing job. I'm out is a mod now. Okay, so now, again, we cannot change times in order to facilitate a 6,000 year Jubilee cycle. It has to be 6,000 years. If it's not, we have to be able to explain it. Creation started in 4003 BC, period. There's no other chance, no other time it could have. So how do we explain the fact that we're coming up on the year 6028? Where did those 28 years come from? And I will show you where they came from. All right. So we're going to the next screen over here. Am I live? Yeah. Okay. So it's a delay. There we go. Let's go to this screen here. This is awesome. I didn't know how to operate this. Where are we at right now again? We're down here coming up on, we're on February the 7th plus 21 hours. So technically February the 8th. You have to remember those 4 minutes per day. They add up throughout the year. By the time we get to the end of the year, it's 24 hours. It's not 16 minutes. That's the extra seconds. We did 4 minutes a day. It's actually 3 hours and again, 57 seconds, I think. So those extra seconds added up to 16 minutes. So, but this is actually, Darth 31 was actually March 16th. This is the last day of the year. We're coming up right now on Shavat 25, or we're on Shavat 25 plus 21 hours, February the 8th. When we get down here to Valentine's Day, Adar 1, February the 14th, because of the 22 hours, but there's nothing I can do about it. It has to show like this, and we just have to be conscious of the fact that these 4 minutes a day were added in daily. And I don't know if you guys recall, some new people here, but what I used to say is I don't know, and you'd see me and I pull my hair out, and I don't have enough hair to pull out. So I'd be pulling my hair out, like, where do I put this day? If I put it here, it makes this one wrong. If I put it there, it makes this one wrong. I had Sister Sandy moving around 10 times before it dawned on me. It's 4 minutes a day, period. It's February 13th plus 22 hours. That's what it is, period. So try hovering your cursor to the right in the back to see if an arrow appears. An arrow? I don't know what that means. Is this an old comment? No, it's new. I don't know what that means. All right, so we're going to continue to go forward here. I'm going to try to keep this on track. I built this timeline. This is this is called a linear timeline. Means we start here at creation. All my timelines that I've ever built are 1 year timelines. But I built this linear timeline to explain the 6,000 years. Yes, there's going to be 6,036 years overall. Remember 4 BC, 32, 6,036 years. Why the extra time? Because we have 4 BC, you have to add it to the 32, it's 2,036. But because it was done prior to 4 BC, why was it done in 4004 BC? Because Jesus was born in 3 BC. That's why it was done that way. Jesus came to the very day, not to the exact day, because he was born on September the 30th, but he was within, what does that make that? Is that 17 days? He was born right around that time. And remember, creation began in 4004 BC, but time began on a Wednesday. So here on a Thursday, is when we have the first day. Right back here on the 16th, we have the first day, making it 4003 because it counts backwards in BC or it counts forwards in AD. And when we go forward, we have Jesus being born on a Jubilee, but he was only here 33 and a half years, so he did not leave on a Jubilee. God wanted us to understand that the Jubilee cycle had nothing to do with the cross, it had everything to do with his birth. 4,000 years from creation plus 14 days. I have 14 days here. Oh, yeah, because man was created on the 16th. So Adam was created on the 16th. So it's 4,000 years and 14 days to when Jesus was born on September 30th in 3 BC. That's why I get stuck on the 3 BC. It's exactly 4,000 years. That ends that set of Jubilee cycles. But then we have this gap. The next Jubilee cycle should have begun, shouldn't it? But there's this gap that we have to deal with. We have to deal with the fact that, and I learned this on another channel, Ivan S, I think 28, Ivan S 28, made this comment that the arraignment of Adam was that mankind shall toil on the ground for a total of 6,000 years. Well, mankind did not toil on the ground for the period of time, 1 year and 10 days he was on the ark, nor did man toil on the ground when God changed the head of the year. He simply said, yep, it's 2023 in September. And when March came around, it's 2024. 6 months were only lived. The other 6 months, if we don't give it back, Satan will have a railing accusation. That time must be given back, as well as, and again, this is done for the benefit of Satan, in that God cannot give Satan any excuse to complain. There can be no excuse for Satan to complain about this time. So that's why God gave it back. When does the Jubilee begin? Does it begin when Jesus, now remember, Jesus is born, from the time Jesus was born up to the time of where the Day of Atonement was, the Revelation 12 sign, same date, the same day in 26 and a half September, 26 and a half AD is when the Holy Spirit sat down on Jesus. Then he went off to be tempted by the devil and fast for 40 days and 40 nights. And when he gets back from that, he begins assembling his posse, his crew, his 12 disciples. He begins putting them together. And he does this when he gets back on September the 24th, the Day of Atonement. 40 days prior to this is when all of that started. But this is the day where he begins on the Day of Atonement, the Revelation 12 sign. This is the day where he begins putting together his people. The year is 26 and a half, because it's September, it's 26 and a half AD. How old was Adam when he was created? He was created at the age of 26 and a half. How old was Adam when he was removed from the garden? Adam was removed from the garden after 7 years and 47 days. 7 years. Nope, Adam sinned. Sorry, not removed. There's another 45 days after this, which I find interesting in that when it comes to President Trump, he's the 45th and the 47th president. 47 days after, 7 years and 47 days after the creation of man, to when mankind sinned on Halloween. He sinned on Halloween, October the 31st, November the 1st. This is the same day the flood began. This is the same day that we view now as Halloween. So when we go here and give this time back, this 556 days, which is 1 year, 10 days, and 182 days, when we go and give this time back, we come back to what God would call the beginning of the new Jubilee cycle in 25 AD. From 25 AD, we count forward 40 Jubilees, exactly 40 Jubilees, and we land here on September the 24th, 2032, or I'm sorry, when we count back, I did that wrong. 40 Jubilees, 2,000 years, we land here on March 16th of 2025. We land because March 16th, remember, is the last day of the Shemitah cycle, the last day of the year, and March 17th is the first day of the new Jubilee, and I'll show that to you here in a moment. But when we count 40 Jubilees, this completes the 120 years of mankind. There was a gap here that I think Satan would have complaint about Jesus because he was here, but he hadn't had the Holy Spirit yet. We're viewing this 28 and a half years. Now, I think Sister Sandy put it in there at the end, which, again, if she started it here and ended it here and then put in the 28 and a half years, she ends up as well on March. I think she said she ends up on March 26th. Um, Again, I'm not here to try to force anybody into believing the calendar. I'm just here presenting an idea to you that you might be able to agree with. All right. Or at least consider that March 16th is the date the rapture is going to occur at sunset in Israel. At least consider that. Now, I said, all right, and this is what I told myself, this tribulation will last 7 years. We know the Jews are looking for their Messiah to come on the Day of Atonement in a year. 6 months and 10 days after the rapture, it would appear that the Day of Atonement is when the Antichrist will come on the scene. He will come on the scene for a full 7 years. At the end of 7 years is judgment. This is when the real Messiah is going to show up on the horses and all of his people on September the 24th, the Day of Atonement, the Revelation 12 sign in 2032. So I said, what happens when I count backwards 40 Jubilees from there? And I come back here to September the 24th in 32 AD. That's the date. And I went into a lot, not too much research, but I went into research, and most said that Paul was stopped on the Damascus Road somewhere between 2 and 3 years after Jesus went to the cross. He was killing Christians. He was a really bad guy at the time, but he had passion, and God liked that passion. God knew if this guy has this much passion for what he believes the truth is, let me show him the truth. Let's see if he has the same amount of passion that he had killing those Christians. And sure enough, God changed him, and Paul exhibited, and again, we have free will. Paul did not have to do anything that he did. He did not have to get crucified, put in jail, beaten, stoned. He didn't have to starve. He didn't have to do any of those things. He did them because he found God. He knew who God was. He found him, and he was not letting go. He hung on to God as tight as he could. So to me, when I count back 40 Jubilees from when the tribulation ends and Jesus returned to judge, when I count back, it lands on September the 24th in 32 AD. And that right there is when I think Paul was stopped on the Damascus Road. It doesn't tell us in the Bible. It doesn't tell us in any extra biblical books because this would have happened after Jesus. It doesn't show us anywhere except that they assumed it was 2 to 3 years, and I'm in agreement with them. So let me continue here, see where we go. Sister Sandy actually fixed this. I surmised that if the rapture occurs on March 16th, these are in black, all the numbers that we would see from the blood moon of November 8th of 2022. Why that random moon? Because it was symmetrical. That's all. There have been other blood moons. There have been other things happening. As a matter of fact, we're going to get a blood moon on March 14th, which I showed you. March 14th is the date that Lazarus became sick. He died 2 days later. It took the messengers 2 days to get to Jesus. It took Jesus 2 days to get back. Jesus sat still for 2 days because it was Rosh Hashanah in Exodus 12. It was Rosh Hashanah. We know it was Rosh Hashanah because Jesus sat still. There is no logical reason why, when Jesus found out his friend was sick, ill, even unto death, why he sat still. That's why. He created these laws on purpose so that that event would take place on that day, so that he would sit still to show us in our timeline today that he sat still for 2 days because it was Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is a feast where you sit still for 2 days and you don't move. Trumpets is a feast, and I'm going to show you this in Leviticus here in a minute, but trumpets is a feast where you sit still for 1 day. So she fixed that. Let me go forward here. The coins, somebody had asked me about this earlier. The coins on Jesus's eyes, and people are like, how do you know? I don't know. I don't know this Hebrew history or the empire that was in charge, Herod in charge at this time. But I can promise you this: these coins were not in somebody's pocket with gum and lint and everything else for 3 years before they placed them on Jesus's eyes. These coins would have been freshly minted, unused, perfectly wrapped coins that were used by somebody wealthy to put on the eyes of Jesus. We know that these were the coins that were put on the eyes of Jesus because they were burnt into the Shroud of Turin, and the Shroud of Turin shows these coins, and historians tell us those coins, and it might have been that one coin was from 29 and the other one was from 30, indicating that it just shifted over a year. The year would have shifted over March 17th, and 14 days later, Jesus would have been on the cross on March 30th. So to have a coin from 29 AD would mean that they had minted it at some point prior to that, but to have a coin in 30 AD means it was minted within that 2 week period. I don't know if it's like a car. You can actually buy a 2026 car right now. When September comes, you can actually buy a 2026 several months early. So I would assume that these coins are printed at some point earlier, but they are actually burnt into the Shroud of Turin, an event that even today, with all of our technology, they cannot replicate. They cannot make that happen. This is Sister Sandy's timeline. I gave her as much information as possible, of course, attempting to stay out of her way as far as her discovery, because numbers don't lie. Numbers make sense, and numbers fit where numbers fit. So um, she, again, we would denote from the 6,000 year, the 120, it's mankind, 120 years, which is 50 Jubilees, 6,000 years, that the rapture should have happened in 1997. And I believe back then in 97, 98, there was a lot of people looking for the rapture at that time. I heard about 88. I didn't hear about 98, a little bit about it. 2011 is when I really began trying to figure this out. And here we are, all these years later, still watching and trying to figure it out. We did not see a rapture event happen in 1997. So we had to figure out why. And is what we see here is that discovery that Noah was on the ark a year and 10 days, and the discovery that the time that Jesus was here, apparently Satan had a complaint about it and couldn't use it. So this comes from a commenter, Rose Golden. Leviticus 25:23, which I'm going to get into, the land shall not be. So they're discussing about the land. Now, I got on here, made a video last time, and titled it, "The Land is Owned, the United States Owns Gaza." I, I am aware that the United States does not own Gaza, and I think that it's a tactic. This is how Trump plays. It's like the children fighting over the back seat or the front seat, and then the father putting the keys in his pocket and walking away. He said, "I decided I'm not going. I'm not going to sit here while you two fight over the front and back seat." Okay, okay, okay. We'll figure it out. That's what he's doing. He's giving them the worst possible scenario in order to cause them to make a decision on what they're going to do. And they know that Trump won't say something if he's not willing to follow through with it. They do not want the United States in Gaza. So what's he saying? He says, "You're going to make a Palestinian state now, and it's not going to be in Israel. It's going to be in your land." They have all these miles and miles of desert that nobody is doing anything with. It's empty. There's no cities. There's no nothing. They could. I mean, Israel is half the size or a third the size of Florida. It's a tiny country. Why do they have to be the one to give up the land? Besides, God gave it to them. But we still know that we're going to see something here very shortly. All right. This is what I was talking to to Sister Sandy about last night, right here. Okay. Let's see, Israel being doing tsunami drills? Really? In Israel? That's kind of weird. All right. I had a problem that I couldn't resolve. Again, Sister Sandy has been doing these timelines with me for quite some time. Didn't attempt to bring her into I'm right and everybody else is wrong. I don't like those kind of channels. They think they're the smartest person in the room. I think that I know the timeline better than anyone, but I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. I know that I have a lot yet to learn. So I texted her last night in Discord. I was talking to her, and I said, okay, I can see the end of the Shemitah cycle on March the 16th and us not being able to sow. But what I'm reading in Leviticus is telling me that I can't reap or sow. I'm sorry, I can't reap in the Jubilee either. So what do we do about that? She said, go read Leviticus 25:22. That's where we get the extra year from. I said, it almost looks like the Jubilee is landing during the 49th year Shemitah cycle, but it doesn't make sense because 49 is not 50. I attempted to articulate this in the last video with the age of a baby being 2 months, 3 months, but I failed miserably after going back and listening. I failed miserably at explaining that, so I built a little timeline for you to look at, crayon. But if you want to see the real timeline and how things fall, go to Sister Sandy's website. You can see it. I want you to remember every seventh year is a Sabbath to the land. They will work 6 years, and in the seventh year they will do nothing. But something happens in the 49th Jubilee cycle where they have to rest 2 days, and then in the third year they can eat. So in the seventh year is a rest year, but in a Jubilee, you have to rest. So this is the 49th year, this is the 50th year, and in the Jubilee, you're not allowed to reap, but you can sow. They sow here. Over here in the ninth year, they can reap and sow. It says here, when you eat, you'll eat from the land that produced back here in the sixth year. He says that he will bring forth enough fruit for 3 years. 1, 2, 3. It'll get you through. God's going to give you plenty. Don't worry about going to work. Hey, tell me I don't have to go to work for a year and I'm still going to get paid. I'll be all over that. I will, I will gladly do that in a second. Oops, wrong screen. All right, I'll be back. Let's see, where do I go next? What's next? All right, here we are. Let me see what I have for pictures left. Okay, I think where am I at? Oh yeah, I have one. I think I have one more after this. All right, let me go back to where I was so I can see your comments. All righty, so now let me enlarge this for you. From the Revelation 12 sign of September, this is what I think happened. This is what I think happened, and I'm going to show that to you right now in Leviticus. On September the 24th, no, it wasn't September the 23rd. It was September the 23rd at night, which became the 24th. And as a matter of fact, God made certain that the moon was not under her feet until the 24th at midnight in Israel. You can go track it yourself in one of your stellar programs. You can see that the moon actually goes under her feet, just like the Revelation 12 sign says, on September the 24th. Now, 182 days to a date, and then the next day is the beginning of the next 6 months. You have 6 months of 182 and 6 months of 182. September the 24th is the first day of the Revelation 12 sign. Why we didn't see a rapture on September the 24th of 2024? Did I go backwards? Okay, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I should have put in 7.5 years. So we go 7 years forward, and we're in 2024 on September the 24th. Why didn't we see a rapture? I showed you there are 6 months and 10 days between the time of the Revelation 12 sign, that date, and the triumphant entry of March 26th. This is the day that Sister Sandy is looking at more than I am. However, I recognize that this day continues to jump up. I didn't go 6 months and 10 days. I went exactly 7 years and 6 months from the event. If you had 7 years in here, it would be March 26th of the year 2024. 25. It'll be 7.5 years. This 7.5 years keeps jumping up. I can't ignore it. I can't sweep it under the rug. It's there. For some reason, almost every calculation I make, trying to figure out the beginning from the end, there's always this 7.5 years. It almost appears to me as though there will be 6 months before the tribulation starts after the rapture occurs. If the rapture occurs on March the 16th, I had I had thought that perhaps I don't know what the 10 days were for. Why, if the rapture occurs on March the 16th and we have 10 more days, what could have occurred in those 10 days? Is it possible? And this is just me thinking out loud. TOLing. Is it possible that we will be changed on March the 16th? Us and the dead in Christ changed on March the 16th. We will be given 84 hours to walk around the same 84 hours Jesus spent in the tomb, the 84 hours we, as changed, being changed in our glorified bodies, walk around for 3.5 days, 84 hours, and then 7 days later, we go somewhere. I know that when Jesus rose that Sunday morning, the Bible records he was around, he hung out, but then they don't see him again until he appears to Thomas in the upper room, exactly 7 days later, exactly on Sunday. He rises on a Sunday and he appears to Thomas in the upper room on a Sunday. The Bible says if you're near a dead body or in a gravesite, you have to show a 3-day cleansing and you have to be gone for 7 days. You have to stay out of sight for 7 days. You are unclean. When Jesus was here, this earth is a gravesite. The entire planet has billions of dead people on it. The whole planet is a gravesite. Jesus, when he left, he went to heaven. He took with him the barley, because the barley by March 30th would have been the only crop that was available to him. Then he did the wave sheaf offering in heaven the following Sunday. It took him 7 days to be clean. The following Sunday, he does the wave sheaf offering, and he returns to Thomas in the upper room. I see us being changed on March 16th, hanging around for 3.5 days to warn everybody, and everybody can see us walking around. And that's where the great multitude comes from, because we're telling them, we've been changed, your time is next. And they either believe at that point or they don't. We go somewhere for 7 days. I don't know where we go. March 26th is the triumphant entry. I would imagine on March 26th is the day we enter into heaven. I think we're changed on March 16th and we enter into heaven. I presented this to Sister Sandy, and she didn't comment back, so I'm guessing she's like, this guy's insane. What's wrong with this guy? But I don't know. That's just what I see. March 26th, triumphant entry. Jesus goes to the cross on March 30th. Jesus rises on April the 3rd. Jesus goes to heaven for 7 days and comes back on April the 10th to do the wave sheaf offering. You see all these 3, 7, 3, 7, 7, 3. You see all these 3s and 7s in those events that we're looking at. So now, let me get into this real quick. I did this to show you we have exactly 6 years. They've never done it in Israel. They are in violation of the law. They're in violation of the law for following the moon. They're in violation of the law for not recognizing when Jesus was going to come. They're in violation of the law because they're not going to recognize when he comes back. Even though we're walking around in transformed bodies, they still will not believe. They are not going to believe until the end of the 7 years. That's when they will drop to their knees and worship Jesus Christ as God Almighty. 6 years you shall work in the land, and the 7th year you shall let it rest. The 7th year is a Sabbath unto the land. 7 sets of 7 you shall work. And in the 7th set of 7 you shall neither sow nor reap. This is the 49th year. The year goes from here. This is not the 49th year. The 49th year is down here. That completes the 49th year. That's what I was trying to articulate in the last video. On March 17th, it begins the Jubilee. The Jubilee goes all the way through here, 1 year every 50 years. However, the Shemitah cycle begins here, and the first year ends down here on March 16th. And it continues on this way, March 17th to March 16th. Begins the Shemitah cycle, ends the Shemitah cycle. Begins the Jubilee, ends the Jubilee. And you go on down. This is where Sister Sandy, I discussed with her last night. I said, I don't understand what I'm reading. Is it showing that you cannot reap it? So how are they going to go on for 3 years or 2 years without sowing, and the third year without eating? And she's like, look at this passage, and she showed it to me, which I'm going to get on here and read to you in a moment. Incredible, incredible. Shemitah cycle began here. It ended at the end of 49, right here. That's where it ended. That is a complete 49th Jubilee cycle. You will not plant, you will not sow, you will eat off whatever the land produces. But in the sixth year, this is the sixth year, in the sixth year, I will produce enough for you to last 3 years. They had more than enough food. They did not have to work here. And then as a bonus, in the 50th year, ending the Shemitah cycle in the 49th, beginning the Jubilee here, the beginning of the 50th year here, right here, March 17th, ending here, March 16th. March 17th begins the Jubilee. It goes on for 1 year. It also begins the next set of 49 Shemitah cycles. It begins right here. This is the first year of the Shemitah cycle, right here. This is the 50 Jubilee cycle. It ends right here. It begins on March 17th, ends on March 16th. Then the Shemitah picks up, but the Jubilee won't happen again for another 50 years. In the 50th year, they are not allowed, it says they are allowed to sow, but they are not allowed to reap. So they can plant all they want. Why are they planting? They're preparing for this year, the first year of the freed up Shemitah cycle. You have two years of the Shemitah that you can't plant because it's a Jubilee. So they can sow, but they can't reap. And as a matter of fact, God says, here I will give you enough for 3 years, 1, 2, and 3. Here they begin to reap, but they have enough food still left over from here. God, if you obey him, will give you more than you could ever possibly need. And no, that's not prosperity. That's what prosperity gospels teach. He's not talking about this for this occasion, it's food, but what he's talking about is if you believe and you pray and you want to know and you want to understand, he will open your mind to see things that no one else, not that no one else can see, but that's what you wanted to see. Now, let me go in here to Leviticus and read this, okay? Let me see if it switches over on my phone. Let me see some comments here real quick. How's everybody doing? Let me get into this. Comment. Let's see here. Some of the Atonement. Yeah, you're right. They must be consecrated on the Feast of Atonement. Yeah. Another plane in Brazil. Ugh. Chad says, now you got it. I think I have had people try to explain it, but I got to put it in layman's terms so that I know what you're saying. I guess you just have to wait for the Lord to open your eyes, don't you? You have to wait for him to make you understand. Why is it not sharing my screen right now? It's still holding on to, oh, I know why. Hold on a second. I think I know why. Let's see here. Stop. How do I remove this? Okay. Hold it on my phone. I don't know how to share Leviticus. Let's see. Add to stage. Ugh. I want to add that in. I don't know how to do it. I am going to read it because I do not know how to add it in. I don't know how to add it in. How do I add it in? How did I add in the photo library? How did I do that? I don't know how I did that. So how am I supposed to add in that? I want to add in, does somebody know how? Leviticus, yeah, I'll Google it. I can see it. I can't help you see it. So I'm going to do this. Let's see here. I'll do this. No, I won't do that. How do I do that? If I close this, sharing this tab to StreamYard, I want to share. Stop sharing. It says I'm sharing it though. Oh, share this tab instead. All right, let's see what just happened. Hold on, hold on. I think I figured it out. I think I'm really smart. I'm really, really smart. All right, hold on a second. Let me close my photos. All right. Am I smart? Let's see. Oh, I'm 19 seconds behind. There we go. All right, now I've got it. Boom. Who's the man? All right, hold on a second. All right, so we're going to go study Leviticus 25, and this is what I was doing last night when when I became confused as to what was going on. So we'll read all of Leviticus 25 so that I can show you what I just said is 100% accurate, biblical. And the Lord, this is again Leviticus 25:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath. The land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, means reap. You shall reap and sow for those 6 years. You shall not, let's keep going, prune thy vine and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. But shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. You shouldn't prepare anything for it to make food. It will just do it automatically. Because in the 6th year, or actually the 48th year, God will make 3 times the amount. I'll show you that in a moment. That which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of the vineyard. In other words, you leave it alone, let it die on the branch. I've given you enough food in the 6th year to carry you through the 7th year. You leave that land alone. And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee, and for thy servants. Hold on a second. Thou shalt not reap neither. So he's telling you can walk out there and eat stuff, but you can't work the land. You can't prune the branches. You can't gather the stuff and sell it, but you can walk out there and eat a grape, I'm guessing, is what this is saying. And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, because that's what it says, for thee, and for thy servant, and for thy maid, and for thy hired servant, and for thy stranger that sojourneth with thee, and for thy cattle, and for the beasts that are in thy land, and all the increase thereof be meat. So you can eat of it, but you can't make it produce better or work it in any kind of way. You can't fertilize it. You can't do anything. Now, that was the Shemitah cycles. That's 6 years of Shemitah cycles. And in the 7th year, it rests. And in the 7th year, you can go out there and pick the stuff, but you can't work the land. You have to leave it alone. Trust God. The 7th year is the Sabbath unto God. It's the 7,000 years he's talking about right here. Now, how long does mankind have to live? 120 Jubilees. And we're going to discuss that now. Thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7. That's 49. When does 49 complete? I showed you. It begins on the 49th year on March 17th. It ends on March 16th of that same 49th year. And the very next day, March 17th, is the Jubilee. What happens during that 49th year? This is where I think many channels have made a mistake. But I believe that the Bible is indicating that this is what will happen during the 49th year. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Crystal clear. Can't make a mistake. And that's a full 49 years, all the way down to March 16th of 2025. What we would call 2025, what the Jews would call or should be calling 5784, but they went ahead and changed the year back in September. They didn't see Jesus coming last time. Their timelines are wrong. They're following the moon because the Antichrist forced them to back in 400 BC. They have never been accurate. We love the Jews. We pray for the Jews. We do not follow them to see when Jesus Christ is coming. They are waiting for the Antichrist by accident. All right. And you shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim a liberty throughout the land. What happens on March 17th of the year 50? Now it becomes 5785 on March the 17th. It's still what we would call 2025, but technically it's 2024, and it will become 2025 on March 17th. What happens on that day? On the day thou shalt cause the trumpet of the Jubilee. Now, that word Jubilee, again, I showed you a mistake where they conflated the two stories of the two different meals of when Jesus had his feet washed and his head washed. Here's another mistake that the Bible, the King James Bible, makes, and that is calling this a Jubilee. That word Jubilee is not the word Jubilee that we're looking for. This is not the Jubilee year. This word means happy time. It does it twice in this passage. It does it here too. I learned that from Heather R. Heather R. has a YouTube channel. She's very astute, very good researcher. And I was trying to figure out, I was picking her brain, but she said, I've had plenty of videos on this in the past, and I didn't want to go back and try to find it. So I went ahead and studied it for myself to try to understand it. But she's written books, I guess. She's done all kinds of things, and so I couldn't get this answer out of her. But she did say that this word Jubilee does not belong here in this context. This context, this word Jubilee means happy. It does not mean the Jubilee. Even though it says it up here, the year of the Jubilee, this word does not belong here. Neither does this other word, Jubilee, belong here. And you can go research that for yourself when you look up the pronunciation or the spelling of the actual Jubilee and the meaning of that word Jubilee. You will see one of them means the 5th-year cycle, the other one means a happy time. She exhaustively explained this, and she's, again, very astute. She's very intelligent, so I believe her on that point. So, then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the happy time to sound on the what just happened? What just happened was 49 years have ended. It is March 16th. The Jubilee has begun, March 17th. What has happened? Actually, no, I said that wrong. The 49th year has begun. In the very beginning, it has begun in the 49th year on March 17th. It will travel one full year to March 16th. During that year, in the 7th month and 10th day of that year, the 49th year, you will blow a happy trumpet proclaiming that the Jubilee is coming. How long? It's the 7th month and 10th day. Does it say 7th month? Yeah, 7th month and 10th day. So that would be September. That would be the Revelation 12 sign. Sorry, it took me a minute to do the math in my head. That will be the Revelation 12 sign. Did we see a trumpet blasted on September the 24th? 7 years exactly after the Revelation 12 sign. We were all looking up saying, Lord, this is it. We're going home. This is it. It's exactly 7 years from the Revelation 12 sign. But that's not what this says. This says that you, on the Day of Atonement, now we're into this year, the 49th year, we're into this year right now by 7 months and 10 days. Exactly. The Day of Atonement is exactly 7 months and 10 days, leaving us with, did I do that right? 6. Why would it be 7 months? It would be 6 months. 6 months and 10 days. What am I saying 7 months for? Oh, because it's September and I'm thinking 7. All right, so it is 6 months and 10 days into the year. It is September the 24th, and they are to blow trumpets. And I think that as a collective whole, everyone that was looking for the rapture was immensely let down on September the 24th, the 7-year anniversary of the Revelation 12 sign. Most of us, if not almost all of us, were looking at that day with high expectations that the rapture might occur. But that's not what this says. What this says, in the 49th year, on the 7th month, it does say 7th month, 7th month. Why am I getting that confused in my head? 6 months, 7th month, and 10th day. Why is that getting confused in my head? It's supposed to be halfway through. I'll look at that. But let's just read what the Bible says. The 10th day of the seventh month, which we know is the Day of Atonement, September. That'd be September the 24th. Yeah, that's right. Okay, that is right because I'm getting confused by March. Sorry about that. Let me restart. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the jubilee of the happy time to sound on the 10th day of the seventh month in the Day of Atonement. Does this start the jubilee? No, the jubilee starts with the Shemitah cycle. The Jubilee starts at the end of the 49th Jubilee cycle. What's this talking about? Well, it's talking about within the 49th year. Within the 49th year, on the seventh month and 10th day, you are to blow the trumpet for a happy time. And you shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all your land and all its inhabitants thereof. And it shall be unto his family, and it shall be a happy time unto you. This is the Day of Atonement. This is not when the Jubilee begins. That's what confused me for so long because I saw that word Jubilee, and until I heard Heather R. make the statement that that word is not Jubilee, that is a similar word meaning happy, joyous time, that when you sound this trumpet in the seventh month and 10th day, you are indicating that the Jubilee will begin very shortly at the end of this 49th year Shemitah cycle, beginning the 50th year. Every man unto his family a jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. So it's explaining that you will blow the trumpet on the seventh month and 10th day, proclaiming that the Jubilee is coming, because this only happens once every 50 years. The Jubilee is almost here. They're blowing the trumpet on the seventh month and 10th day, but the Jubilee is almost here, which would, in lack of a better term, January 1st, which will be March 17th. For it is a Jubilee, it shall be holy unto you, and ye shall eat the increase of the land thereof. So now I ask her, and I said, now eating of the increase means you're still not working it, but you can eat what's out there. The Jubilee shall 50th year. It says right here, a Jubilee shall that 50th year be unto ye shall not sow, neither reap. And I'm like, all right, now wait a second. This is where I got stumped last night. And I said, Sister Sandy, is the Jubilee on during the 49th year? Does it end at the end of the 49th year like the Shemitah cycle? I said, 50 is not 49. How does this work out? And she said, keep reading. Just keep reading. You haven't finished reading. I jumped to conclusions. I stopped right here. And that's the point of reading the Bible. Don't just stop with Matthew 24:36. Go back and read Matthew 24:35. Go forward and read Matthew 24:37. Don't take at face value what somebody said. You can't know the day or the hour. Don't take anything at face value. Go into the Bible and read it for yourself. Does the Jubilee begin in September? No, it doesn't. We know it doesn't. We know that God said in Exodus 12, this now is the head of your year. He made it very clear at the very beginning that this is when the Jews left out of Egypt. They did that in March. They did that at the beginning of the year. Speak to the children of Israel and saying to them, when ye came into the land I gave you. When did they come into the land? They came into the land on March the 26th. They came into the land on the day that Jesus, how you call the triumphant entry. They came into the land on the triumphant entry. That's when they came into the land. When do all these things start? They begin here when they came into the land. They came into the land in March. They came into the land on March 26th or on Nisan 10. That's the day they came into the land. That's when the sabbatical year starts. That's when the Jubilee year starts. In the 49th sabbatical year, you will blow a trumpet in the 7th month and 10th day. The year will begin. Does it begin 10 days later? No. It's just that you'll blow the trumpet on September the 24th. It doesn't begin 10 days later because that's not where it begins. They say, oh, you have to move the head of the year from September the 15th or whatever date they throw out there forward 10 days. No, you don't. That's the day that you blow trumpets. You blow it in the 7th and the 10th day of the 7th month. That's when you blow it. We are here, located within the 49th Shemitah cycle. And we're almost here, the return of real property. In the year of the Jubilee, ye shall return every man his possession. The Jubilee begins here on March 17th. You'll blow the trumpets here on the 10th day of the 7th month. You'll blow them, indicating in 6 months. Guess what? 6 months later is going to be the Jubilee. They're telling everybody the Jubilee's coming. You do not blow for the Jubilee. The blowing of trumpets did not move from the seventh month and the 10th day to the first month and the 10th day. That's not when you blow the trumpet. This did not move. This comes in after Exodus 12. 613 laws. The very first one handed down to Moses was this now is the head of the year. Everything after that was calculated to the head of the year being March 17th, the day Jesus said, "Oh, they're not 12 hours in the day." Now, I'm going to keep going forward here because she said, I think she said 23 is where I should begin. Was it 25? I don't remember where you said to look, Sister Sandy, last night, which made it all make sense. Let's see here. My section. Oh, here it is. The blessing of obedience. When you research out your Bible, when you study diligently, when you pray, the increase here is discussing food, but the increase will be knowledge and understanding. And when you come to knowledge and understanding, you'll know the truth. You don't need me to tell you, but I will give you a framework for you to go in and study it yourself and say, hey, that makes sense. No, we don't blow trumpets on the triumphant entry. It clearly says in the seventh month and 10th day. It is doing that in the seventh month and 10th day. Oh, now I understand. I was like, why seven? It's not 7 months. It's 6 months and 10 days in the seventh month and 10 days. It's actually a full 6 months and 10 days. That is the Day of Atonement. That's the day you blow the trumpet. In the 49th year, halfway through, proclaiming the Jubilee year is on its way, which it will be here in 5 months and 21 days, or 5 months and 20 days, however many days are in there. I'd have to look. But 5 months and 21 days is when the Jubilee will begin. We have a cutoff point on March 16th of the year, what we call 2025, technically 2024, but 2025. We have a cutoff point on March 16th. That will end the 49th Jubilee cycle. That will end the 6 years, and on the seventh year, you shall rest an actual Shemitah cycle. I said Jubilee. Shemitah cycle. That will end the 49th year Shemitah cycle, the seventh year Shemitah cycle. It will end the year. That's the end of the year, March 16th. And it will also, the very next, at sunset on the 16th, March 17th, it will begin that Jubilee when everything must be returned when it takes effect. They've been preparing for this day. The slaves are all gathered up. All right, here's your paper. Here's our contract. It ends on March 16th of the year 2025, 5784. And on March 17th, the Jubilee, you are free to go. You can sell yourself back to me on March 17th. But as of this note right here, you are free to go as of March 17th or March 16th at sunset. It will become March 17th. It will become the Jubilee. It will become the new 49-year Shemitah cycle. Wherefore ye shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, and ye shall dwell in the land in safety, and the land shall yield her fruit, and ye shall eat your fill and dwell therein in safety. And if ye shall say, what shall we eat in the seventh year? Remember, they're not to work in the seventh year Shemitah. It's a time of rest for the land. He said, behold, we shall not sow nor gather in our increase, meaning you don't take more than you can eat. You don't collect it and keep it in your house. Remember the manna? They were to pick that manna up off the ground. On Friday, they were able to carry or keep up 2 times as much so that they could eat on Saturday. But then on Sunday, everything started over again. And if they attempted to keep that manna more than 1 day during the week or 2 days for the Sabbath, the manna would turn to worms. They couldn't eat it anyway. God made certain that they understood that he was the one feeding them. Then I will command blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. Why 3 years? Why not like the manna? What changes here? Why is it not the same as the manna? Because The manna had no expression of the 50-year Jubilee cycle. So God added a year. There are 3 years here: the 49th year for the Shemitah cycle, the 50th year of the Jubilee cycle, into the next year where they could plant, but they weren't reaping because they hadn't planted in the last 2 years. So, and ye shall sow in the 8th year. Remember, what's the 8th year? The 7th year is the end of the Shemitah cycle. The 8th year is the Jubilee. And the 9th year it starts everything over in the 8th year, but the 9th year is the 2nd year of the Shemitah, and it's the end of the Jubilee. As a matter of fact, the Jubilee will end in the 7th year at or the first year of the Shemitah cycle, but the Jubilee will end at March 16th, that night, becoming the 8th year. So, or the 9th year. So, 8th year, 9th year. I don't recall. Bring forth fruit of for 3 years, and ye shall sow the 8th year, and eat of the old fruit until the 9th year. Yeah, 9th year. Sorry about that. Until her fruits come in, ye shall eat of the old store. They're eating the stuff. Remember, God gave them an increase of 3 years, so they will eat of the old store. Now, I think that I have covered most of that at this point. Let me see if there's any questions or comments. Are we even on subject? Let's see. I finally decided to do this sitting down. I'm 60. I don't look as good sitting down as I used to. Let me put that camera up a little bit. Oh my goodness. All right, so what do we have? Wide awake and aware. I'm glad you're here too. Let's see. Ken Hall. I am absolutely blessed, wide awake. Let's see. Yay, everything's good. So does everybody understand the Shemitah, the Jubilee cycles, and how and why they are in fact ending on March 16th, and that trumpets are blown within the 49th Shemitah cycle, heralding in 5 months and 21 days will be the Jubilee, heralding all of that in to what we see. Nisan 10 is the triumphant entry. That's March 26th. It is the triumphant entry. However, that is not when you blow trumpets. You blow trumpets in the 7th month and 10th day, just like it says right there in Leviticus. It makes a little bit good. I'm glad. It makes a little bit more sense. Let's see. I followed Heather for some time, and I like Heather R. She has a very good channel. Um, very good channel. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you. See, and I wanted to put it in layman's terms because I don't understand. I don't understand until I understand, until the Bible makes a comment. I kept questioning and I couldn't see it. Sister Sandy saw this a while ago. And I said, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that we're to blow trumpets. It says to blow trumpets on the 10th day of the 7th month. How are we going to split up the Shemitah cycle from the Jubilee? And she's like, you don't. You just blow it in the 7th month and 10th day. That is not the day of the triumphant entry. That is not the triumphant entry. That day is the Revelation 12 sign. What happened at the Revelation 12 sign? They blew trumpets. We all did. We were all like, this is it. This is it. We're going home. We're going home. You know, it didn't happen. What does it mean? What does it mean that 7 years, 6 months from that time, that from the Revelation 12 sign, that it appears as though we're going to be raptured, and 7 years and 6 months from the rapture, it appears 7 years, 6 months, and 10 days. It appears the Day of Atonement is the day that the tribulation ends. To me, that's astounding that actually fell into place like that. That the Revelation 12 sign will be 7 years. Now, if the rapture occurs on, and that's the problem. I've seen the 7 years, 6 months, and 10 days. If I go from the Revelation 12 sign and I go 7 years, 6 months, I'm going to land on, where am I going to land? I'm going to land on the triumphant entry. But what's left when you blow trumpets on the seventh month and 10th day is 5 months and 20 days. It, it, I have both. They both keep popping up. September 16th, beginning of the Jubilee cycle, and September the 26th, the triumphant entry, the Revelation 12 sign, or the 7 year, 6 months anniversary of the Revelation 12 sign. They all keep interrelating. So I can't say for certain if it's going to be on March 16th or March 26th. William Phillips. Oh yeah, William Phillips has made. He's a new small channel, and it says, "Hey, look, oh, yeah, I promoted his channel, and I like promoting channels. I like helping channels grow. I know for a fact that I am not the only person that can figure this stuff out. As a matter of fact, I'm probably one of the slowest because I know that others have figured this out a long time ago, and I might be speaking about it as though it's brand new. However, it's the triumphant entry. Mike will be consoling you for the 10 days. Sister Sandy says it'll be the triumphal entry on March 26th, so she's going to be consoling me for those 10 days. Yeah, I'm going to be. No, I'm not going to be. Hey, it's 10 days. I've waited for almost 40 years. I can wait 10 days. Um, who impairs himself being prideful? I'm not prideful. Is that me? It's probably somebody else. Um, yeah, it keeps popping up, and the same thing happens. Did you know that the same thing happens with the day of equal parts? That the distance between the day of equal parts of March 16th, March 17th, and the next day of equal parts, which is on September the 24th at night, is 6 months and 10 days, 6 months and 10 and a half days. And what's left over, it almost splits that 31st day. And then what's left over is 5 months and 20 days. It was right in front of us. I mean, you can stick a stick in the ground and track the days of equal parts. You would know. Anybody can do it. You don't have to be standing out. It's too cloudy to see the moon. You don't have to do that. You get two witnesses on that day. You got the day of equal parts, and you've got the star. Yeah. This is what I posed to Sister Sandy last night in what I think, and she says it's going to be September. I'm sorry, the March the 26th, and I say March the 16th. What I think is this is just me now. This is not, and if it's right, it's biblical. If it's wrong, then I'm wrong. But it looks to me like we're going to be changed on March the 16th at sunset. It looks like for 84 hours we will be walking around changed, going out and showing everybody Jesus looked like Jesus, but he was changed. He got his brand new body. He's the only one so far that has received a new body and gone to heaven. From what I understand, he's the only one that has his uh, glorified body. Enoch was taken up, but I don't know that he was given a glorified body. He didn't die, but how did he survive out there in human form? I don't know the relationship between that, but I do know the Bible clearly says that um, Enoch ascended. I know that. Alive. I know that. But I also know it says that Jesus is the only one that is ascended in his glorified body. So we have to reconcile that. So for 3.5 days, 84 hours after we're changed, I say we walk around, we warn our family, warn our friends. You could try to kill us. You could do whatever you want to us. Nothing's going to happen to us. We're in glorified bodies. And then we go somewhere. I don't know where. I've heard people talking about a glory cloud. I don't know how true that is, or we all go to Israel and we kind of hang out there for 7 days. But at the end of those 7 days, wherever we are, we will be on hallowed ground. It will not be a tomb or a gravesite. It will be hallowed. We can't be anywhere near that death. We can't be anywhere near death until that point. Do we go to heaven or in the clouds? Maybe we go into the clouds and we chill out up there for 7 days. I don't know how it works, but then at the end of that, I think on March 26th, the triumphant entry is a triumphant entry that we will show up in heaven, and then I think we will have the meal in heaven with Jesus, like the Last Supper. He said this and that. Remember, the Last Supper occurred 2 days after the Lazarus meal with Mary and Martha. And I think at that point, we will be in heaven. And like I've said many times, not a prideful thing and not a judgmental thing, but I quit drinking I think it's 7 or 8 years ago, 6 or 7, 8 years. I don't even know because alcohol was never a thing for me in the first place. I drank, I had a beer here and there. I didn't care. But something told me one day and years ago, and I read it in the Bible. Jesus says, I'm not drinking anymore until you get here. I says, well, if you can do that, then I can do that. And I know I'm fully aware. What's her name? She is 7 years sober. She made a video about it. What's her name? She's a really good channel. I really like her channel. I don't know her name. I mean, I know her name, but I don't know her name. Oh, Heather R's on live right now. I don't think she can see me, but she's on live right now. She's correct, by the way, about the year 1406 without the 0 year being from that point going forward. We land on 2025. I did the math. She's actually correct. End Time Watchman. Let me go to my subscriptions here. Let's see here. What's her name? Carol Vay. I forgot her name. Carol Vay. Um, and so, like I said, it's not a prideful thing for me. I never really had a problem with it. But somebody like Carol Vay admitted that she couldn't live without it, and she's given it up. And that was 7 years ago, which I found to be really incredible. And Jesus can wait for me to show up in heaven to have another drink for 2,000 years. I can wait seven, and that's what I did. That's what I did. And congratulations, by the way, to Carol Vay for doing that. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. All right. So, does anybody have any questions at this point um, about the timeline? Yeah, 0 year doesn't get much love. Yes, it doesn't. But they count it like it's a one, and that's why um, we get to our date in 2025 because of that 0 year. Oh, excuse me. If we're wrong, it will be 2026. I will not. I will not be happy whatsoever. No, I think we've made it. I think that I think we've made it. I think we've made it to the end of this. I believe that this is it. And remember, when we discuss the Jubilee cycle, before anybody gets all let down, likes boring himself, before anybody gets let down about the Jubilee cycle, it does last a whole year. It does last the entire year. So um, we don't want to insist that the rapture must occur on March 16th or March 26th. The entire year is Jubilee. The entire year would make sense. It could happen at any point during that year. I think it's going to happen on March 16th. I think everything is going to go down on March 16th. And here's what I also think: as we go forward and we watch this come to fruition, the closer we get, we just saw two or three more airplanes come down. There's a volcano in where is it at? Greece. In Greece, they evacuated an entire island. We haven't seen stuff like this. If we saw that once every 10 years, we'd be like, wow, that's incredible. But we're seeing something like this happen daily now. And so you could almost do the math from March 16th or March 26th and count, do your biblical math of 40 days, 30 days, 11 days, 7 days, 3 days. You could do, and you'll see an uptick in these events in that math in relationship to the rapture occurring on March 16th or 26th. God's Land Down Under. Hey, Brett. Brett's in here. Um, did Brett make a video? Did I watch Brett's video? I watched so many videos. I hope I watched it. If I'm not, that's the first place I'm going when I leave here is to watch Brett's video because everyone should be watching Brett's video. No, he does good videos, and I don't know if I missed it last night. I don't recall. See, I can see without my glasses when I'm this far away from the computer. Yeah, I know. Yeah, when he made that announcement, it was 40 days. Dr. Barry Oz, my one of my all-time favorite YouTube channels. He is such a nice person. He is never displays anger. He is very cordial with everyone. He is an awesome person. Love watching his stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 613 laws. The very first law given down to Moses, and we have 613 laws backwards, 316. March 16th. It's always made so much sense to me from the time I found that out 7 years ago. But you've never seen me say, if you don't believe the way I do, the Holy Spirit must not be in you. Ridiculous. I can't stand it when people say that. That's absolutely childish and ridiculous thing to say. We are not all the same part of the body. I would never yell at my hand, uh, or my hand would never yell at my foot saying, "You're walking through the mud." And the foot would be like, "Yeah, if I don't, you aren't going to get to the food." It just doesn't work that way. You can't judge somebody else's gift by your own gift. If you're a great researcher, so happy for you. But it doesn't make anybody else less safe because you're a great researcher. That's not how it works. March 9th, is a 7 day warning. Yeah, there might be a 7 day warning. We might see that. An 80. Jesus was in the grave for 84 hours. That's it. It's 3.5 days. The 3.5 is everywhere. At the very least, if you say that he died at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and rose before sunrise, you would say it was 75 hours, right? But we don't. It was 84 hours. Oh, David the Watchman. Oh, you were going to go live? Are you going to go live, David? I can get off and you can go live. If you're going to go live, I got out what I wanted to say. I'm just kind of chilling out with everybody right now. But if you want to go live, I would love to watch your stuff. I'll wait for his answer. If he's going live, oh, he said no, not tonight. Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out with everybody, um, seeing if anybody has any questions as to, you know, I'll always get those comments. The year starts on April 16th because the moon, and I'm like, I don't look at the moon. Lovely Friday night. Yeah. Yeah, what time is it? 7:30. Yeah, I do this standing up, so normally I'm kind of like, I gotta go. My feet are killing me. But today I decided to sit down in the rocking chair. I'm sitting in the rocking chair out in the secret broadcast cave, getting eaten by bugs, which I'm okay with that part, and talking with you all. I got a back screen, so I'm not embarrassed by all the garbage behind me. All right, William Phillips, second coming on second Passover, April 25th. So, second Passover is not on April 25th because first Passover is on March 30th. So, second Passover would be April 29th because it would be 30 days away. So it's close. Who says April 25th anyway? Is there somebody that has a calendar? Mine's the earliest calendar out there. There are no calendars showing dates prior to mine. That's weird that there would be somebody saying April the 25th. Let's see. March 10th? I think, Dr. Bay. I missed that. Chat's going kind of quick. When did Dr. Barry say it was? I watched him, but I don't recall the date he gave. Let's see. Dr. Barry said April 25th. Okay, what? Why April 25th? Is that he's are they? Is that what they can't? I think they're 14 days off my calendar, so I believe Passover to them would be. Yeah, 33 and a half of Jews. I think second. I think first Passover to them would be April the 13th or 14th. I would think. I believe their calendar's off of mine by 14 days. Last year was off by 21. This year's off by 14. So I'm not sure. Nissan says Nissan 10, which is March 25th, the triumphant entry. Triumphant entry occurred. Oh, because no, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Why would he say that? If they're looking at April the 12th, April the 14th, and you count back, I don't understand. Yeah, Passover is April the 12th. We know the triumphant entry was for 4 days prior to that. Wouldn't he be looking at April the 8th? Just mathematically, I would think. I don't know. I'm betting on Mars for Rapture when the fig turns green. Yeah, hey, that's fine. I know he is, and if he is, the Hebrew calendar is saying that Passover is on April the um, 14th, I think, or 13th. And remember, the triumphant entry was 4 days prior to that, so he would be on April the 10th. Oh no, yeah, April the 10th. But that to him might be Nissan. It wouldn't be Nissan. Yeah, it would be Nissan 10 to him, but he would be off because they're saying that Barry said April the 2020. April, correction, Barry said April 20th, not the, okay. I was going to say mathematically that would be off because the triumphal entry was 4 days prior to the cross. Yep. Oh, it's coming. The rapture's coming. It's coming like a freight train. We're just like mice running around here trying to figure it out, but it is coming. When it gets here, we can see the birth pangs increasing as we go, and they are increasing exponentially the closer we get to the rapture date. And I think that's what the world is going to see. They won't relate it to the rapture whatsoever, but we will. We'll see just catastrophes, catastrophic events occurring, or letting us know that this day is getting so. Yeah, contractions, very much so. Labor pains, birth pangs. People can confuse those two words together. Pangs and pains. Birth pangs, labor pains. 3.5. I mean three, not three. Okay. Yes. Yeah. People say birth pains, and I'm like, no, it's birth pangs. It's labor pains. By 2 cubits. Oh my goodness. We need to be closer to 8 right now. We got to get out of here. But yeah, I guess if we're 36 days away, we're about 2 cubits. Yeah, it's just a little point of contention of mine when I hear people saying, they're in labor pains. I'm like, nope, they're in labor. They're having birth pangs. They're labor pains, birth pangs. They confuse the two. It's no big deal though. It really is no big deal. I'm a word warrior sometimes. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Brett's going to do a video today. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I love all of the other math that goes into the Stellarium. What's his name? Mark Allison. Man, that guy just relates all kinds of stuff. He does so well with his YouTube. I love his channel. Bob Barber. I've been on with him many times. He's a great guy. He's actually a down to earth guy. Really great guy. And all of those guys over there at now I'm going to forget Departure Heaven. Very good channel. He wants to do he I like you too. He wants to do videos bringing on one guest because I think it gets difficult when there are six guests on there. In that, what happens is, and the audience becomes upset, which I is shouldn't happen. But when we touch on a subject that I'm unfamiliar with, I will step back. I'm not going to give an opinion on something that I'm unfamiliar with. But if you want to talk about Enoch or timelines, that's when I step forward. But how rarely or how often does that actually happen? Uptime Community Church, yeah. How often do people actually get into timelines? I was listening to a YouTube channel. It's the guy that takes a walk. What's his name? I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names, but he walks and he makes a video every day. And they were in there, and that girl that he had on there actually has a YouTube channel where she made a rap of the end of the world. I thought it was the most amazing thing. She's gotten, I don't even know, 10,000 views on that rap that she did, and she was awesome in that. But they were in there talking about Enoch, and they had an open mic type thing where anybody could jump in. So I jumped in because that's one of my favorite subjects, and we discussed it in there. And awesome. It was awesome. So when it comes to timelines, and so to have me on there discussing world events or other things, it's a bit. And people are like, "I want Repo Man to speak," and while I want to speak, we're touching on a subject that's not my strong point. So I kind of stand there and learn as well. And they bring it to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's not my wheelhouse," but here's my opinion on that. So a lot of these wonderful YouTube channels have their own uh, way of coming at the rapture, and it's like Aaron over at God a Minute. Great guy, good channel. He is looking at Feast of Weeks. I think he says June 6th or something. Of course, my timeline says it's May 30th. Feast of Weeks is always on May 30th. And so if it is in fact Feast of Weeks, which I will be I will be brokenhearted if we have to go that long. But if it's Feast of Weeks and we do have to go to May 30th, which I pray that we don't, we will still be within the Jubilee year, though. But if it is Feast of Weeks, then May 30th is what we'd be looking at by that time. But I don't think so. I really think it's the end of because of what we just read, the end of the Shemitah cycle, the beginning of the Jubilee, March 17th. But the whole year is the Jubilee cycle. So that in and of itself would concern me. Yeah, and then you have the Feast of Wine that Dr. Barry discovered, and I don't know. And again, Pentecost is not Shavuot. They are not the same thing. They're two different dates. They're 7 days apart. Jesus said so. He made it abundantly clear that they are not the same date. He said, "I've got to leave so that I can send you the Comforter very shortly." And he did. On May 30th, he left Shavuot, and on June the 6th or 7th, maybe that's what Aaron's looking at. Maybe, no, but he said Feast of Weeks, which is Shavuot. So Shavuot is May 30th. Pentecost is on June the 6th or 7th. So I'd have to look more into that, but he's been saying that, to his credit, he's been saying that for, 7 months now. He's sticking to it. It's a story. He's sticking to it. But don't think he's not out here making videos saying, "Could this be it? Could this?" He's putting out high watch days as well. That's 7 days before the 16th. Oh, you think? Do you think there's a flat Earth, Brett? Is that you? No, you don't think that. You think it's flat? I don't even want to get into that conversation. I shouldn't have asked that question. Flat Earth shekels. There's no flat Earth. It's round. Where did my? Ugh. Oh, here it is. All right. He said, "Nah, not flat." Yeah. Put a camera on a drop of water, drop it from an airplane, and it'll turn around. You know why? It's called gravity. March 16th. That's awesome. So April Fool's Day, I discussed this in a little bit in the last video. They had to add a day somewhere in the year, and I've never been able to find it mathematically where it would actually sit. But I heard somebody say that the Ides of March or something, that in March is where they added the extra day. And it would make sense to add it from the very beginning. And March 31st is not actually a day. So Jesus would have gone to the cross on March 30th. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he gave up the ghost. And April Fool's Day, that's where they changed the time and the seasons. That's where they added the day. April Fool's Day, Jesus was not killed. He went to Hades to lead captivity captive. Satan blundered. That guy blundered. He made such the biggest mistake. He's made such a huge mistake on that day. He caused all of us on that day. He hates us and he wants to destroy us, but on that day, boy, did he mess up. He messed up so bad that he accidentally crucified Jesus, and he crucified somebody that was innocent. None of us on this planet are innocent, but he was. He was completely innocent. And on that day, Satan crucified him. What a fool. April Fool's Day. If the 31st wasn't there, April Fool's Day. Perfect, right? What a blunder. He has copied God. He has taken the creation that God made. I wonder why it does that. Disappears. He has copied God and trying. He's like, look what I made. I made tape. Yeah, I'm smart because I made tape. And God's like, I made every molecule that's in that tape that you think you made. You made it, but I created it. God created everything. Yeah, that flat Earth thing is a point of contention for a lot of people. I know that, and there's some really intelligent people, good channels that think it's flat, and to me it minimizes the power of God. When we look out into the vastness of the universe, we're not sitting in a petri dish under a cake uh, top on God's the corner of God's table and existing in here. Mike's head is too close to the color of the background. Is that what it is? My face is too close to the color of the background. So, snow globe. Yeah, no, my God is an awesome God, and He created a vast, vast universe. And for all eternity, the people that are going into the millennium will procreate and fill up for all eternity the vastness of this creation that God created, and God will just if it fills up in 100 billion, quadrillion, gazillion years, He'll just make more of it because He's God. It's spheres, the sphere itself. Oh my goodness, it's creepy because half my face is missing. Oh, let me move forward. God, that no, it's not good. There, is that better? It's reflecting off my glasses. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. All right, everyone. This was fun. I don't know how long I've been here. Oh, 2 hours. Wow, 2 hours. I wanted to go through all that with you. I would go back and listen to the first half. I don't know how long I've been on here since then, but to understand the Shemitah and the Jubilee cycles, very important. And getting a stirring tonight. I can take it. I repoed cars for 15 years. I can handle it, and I am in no way concerned as to whether or not anyone follows the moon. I do not believe for an instance that believing the Earth is flat around, or you follow the moon to start your year, or my timeline, or the equinox has any bearing whatsoever on your salvation. Whether you know the Bible like the back of your hand and you can discover things in the Bible nobody else can, does not mean that the Holy Spirit is not working on you. That is a dumb statement. And the Holy Spirit is working on all of us. And I look, I just figured out the Shemitah and the Jubilee cycles. I'm very content with what I have discovered. And Never understood it before. Never wanted to work on it. I just wanted to work on that 1 year timeline. But then God put it on my heart that now's the time to figure that out. And I'm very confident in the fact that in the 49th year, it starts on March 17th. On September the 24th, the Revelation 12 sign, the trumpet will be blowing, indicating that the Jubilee will begin in 5 months and 21 days. Very confident with that understanding. And believe that the triumphant entry is on March 26th. Just confident with that. But we're all at different levels, and different parts of the body know how to do different things. And you can't say your hand is not your hand. Hey, you're not a hand because you can't eat. My mouth will say, "You're not a mouth." To my hand, you're not a hand because you can't eat. It's silly. It's absolutely silly, and that's not. Stop saying this is a point of contention of mine. You are a bride of Christ. You are going to rule and reign with Christ. You will not be opening doors. To say that you'll be opening doors is to say that Jesus will be in heaven opening doors. He is God Almighty, and we will be ruling and reigning with him. We will not be opening doors. The servants of the Lord will show up later. They will be the ones who will be opening doors and running things and doing the grunt work, as it were. They will not receive crowns. They will not receive mansions. They will be living in the outer court. That is not measured. That's where they will live. And they will be absolutely happy with that. Yes, I saw Dr. Barry's video. No, no, don't say, don't be upset that you say it. I understand what you're saying. I fully understand what you're saying. You're saying that you would be content, and that's what a tribulation saint, after the tribulation begins and they accept the Lord, they will say, I will do anything to get out of going to hell. I will open doors. But us, the bride, will not be opening doors. We will be ruling and reigning. And I want you to put that into your mind that you will be not because you're great, because we're terrible. We're absolutely terrible. We're Barabbas. We deserve to go to that cross. We deserve to go to that cross. But I want you to put your mindset in the fact that you will be ruling and reigning with Christ. Not that you're going to be a bad king or a bad ruler or you're going to be ordering people around. That's not what's going to happen. But you will be elevated at the top to glorify Jesus and to show, look how rotten, a dirty sinner, alcoholic, everything you could think of sinner this person was. And Jesus deserves all the credit, just like he does for Barabbas. Barabbas was a horrible person, but Jesus took his place. From that point forward, do you think Barabbas might have gone on the straight and narrow, been a better person, realized that an innocent man just died in his place? Do you think he went somewhere and cried, knowing, I should have died. I should have been the one that died. It's a good thing he didn't, because he would have gone straight to hell. But he didn't. Jesus took his place, and therefore he is ruling and reigning with Christ in heaven, or he will when he gets his new glorified body. So we know we will not be opening doors in heaven. We will be elevated to uh, a height, again, not because of us, but because of what Jesus did. So take a hold of that rod of iron and be proud to rule and reign with your Creator, with your Savior, with the one who died on your behalf. And he deserves so much more. When I get there, all of us will have the biggest mansions. It will be the most unique to you, and it will be especially designed for you and everything you like. And again, not because you're so great, but because God is so great. See that? John 6:44 shows up when I move my head. Didn't realize that. So, um, uh, take pride in your God, that you will be elevated to so high up there. So, all right, YouTube, we will chat with you all later. I think Brett said he's coming out with a video, which I'll be looking forward to. We will, if you have any input, You can go into, does anybody, Sister Sandy, are you still here? I know it's late over there, I would imagine, to put the Discord in here that they could go into the Discord. I simply have a room in Discord. I don't venture out too often. If you could put the Discord in there, David has a room in there. I believe Brett does too. A lot of the and I treat my room just like David treats his room. I stay pretty much to my room. I'll venture into David's room to see what they're talking about. But then now a moderator will come in to that room. If and in my room, it's pretty relaxed. I don't mind anybody going in there and talking, but there will be no arguing. If you have a flat Earth idea and you can prove your point, I believe there's a flat Earth room in there. If you are a YouTube channel and you would like a Discord of your own to discuss your findings, then you can go into your room and discuss those findings. Trying to convince David the Watchman that he's wrong, or Brett that he's wrong, or any of the other YouTube channels that have a room in there. And again, I operate my YouTube channel room. I'm sorry, my Discord channel room like Brett operates his and David operates his. They are in charge of them. I don't go in there and say, David, you have to follow my time. I don't do that. I have a room. You don't see me venture off into the other rooms, but sometimes I will. They'll hold discussions in other rooms, and that's how my Discord works. It's not like Aaron has an amazing Discord over at Got a Minute, fantastic Discord, and in his Discord they have all kinds of events and stuff that go on. I go in. I was in one of their live chats the other day. I go in there sometimes because it's set up differently. And this Discord, my Discord, is set up to where you want to talk to David directly about a subject, you can go in there and talk to him. You want to talk to Brett about a subject, you can go in there and talk to him. We won't go into David's room if he believes in round earth or flat earth and give an opposing view and try to change him in how his viewpoint is. And likewise, in my room, again, it's more relaxed, but simply because well, I'm thick. Well, I don't want to say that because I know David and Brett are thick-skinned too. We just want to keep the discussion in each room to what that room discusses, and sometimes the moderators will go in there and say, "Hey, and they're not being mean. They're just saying, let's take this to this room over here, and there's no reason to get bent out of shape over that. It's just they're trying to keep the subject line in the subject room, and you can discuss that subject in that room rather than coming in and pulling a pin on a hand grenade and trying to blow up the room and trying to change everybody's mind to your understanding. That's simply not how. I don't believe it's like trying again to tell the hand to tell the mouth how to pick something up. Mouths do pick stuff up, but the hand is so much better at it because that's what it was created to do. So just remember that every part of the body is different, and we do not need to go in and attempt to change the way another part of the body does something. And the Bible speaks ultimately abundantly clear about the fact that the body is has different functions, and that's what we do, and that's how we do it. So, all right, let me get off of here. We will chat with you all again. I'll be in. I don't know if Brett's doing a live or just a video. Either way, yeah, simple respect for each other and each other's viewpoints, and that's all there is to it. So, all right, it was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and I hope we learned something about the Shemitah and the Jubilee cycles and when that trumpet is blown on the Day of Atonement in the 49th year, heralding in and the fact that the Jubilee is on its way in 5 months and 20 days. That's pretty much what I wanted to get out there in a nutshell. And if anybody says that's inaccurate, we can discuss it, but I believe that's what I'm seeing as we all read it and understand that we do not blow trumpets on the triumphant entry, which is 6 months out. No, we blow trumpets in the 7th month, 10th day on the Day of Atonement. And we did that because the Revelation 12 sign was 7 years old. And 6 months later, we will see, I believe, a rapture event on March 16th, which will be exactly Again, you can time this out. 7 years and 6 months from the Revelation 12 sign, 7 years and 6 months to the Day of Atonement, giving us exactly 15 years for all of that from the Revelation 12 sign to the end of the tribulation. But uh, we can discuss that in length in the Discord if you'd like, or I could, come back on here and reiterate this in another video. Thank you, Brett, for coming in here, and moderators for coming in here to moderate the channel. I didn't really see much of anything unless you guys are just faster than I could see, but or I was in another window. But thank you, everybody, for coming in. We will chat with you all again later. Good night.